Hi, my name is Kiara Pantaleon. I am an intern at New Hope Soberry Cares. And if you don't know about the organization, we are a nonprofit organization that works together to support a safe, healthy, and addiction-free New Hope in Soberry. Today, I will be talking and presenting on peer education. So this is just an overview of what we'll be going through. So we have the introduction where we would define some terms, talk about a little pre-research that I did. Moving on to the insights, we'll talk about the benefits of peer education and qualities of good peer educators. We would then follow with our program, the way that we ran our program, the topics we went over, and activities that we involved. And then lastly, we will conclude with our evaluation takeaways and future suggestions. So to begin with the introduction, peer education. What is peer education? Peer education is a sharing of information and experiences among individuals with something in common. So it is a great way to promote healthy behaviors. This allows for the community members to feel more better supported and just to have the enhancement that they need to partake in better behaviors. So a peer educator is part of a group that receives special training and information. They aim to sustain positive behavior change among the group members they are working with. And I found this quote to be very interesting. It says, "I am not a teacher, but an awakener," by Robert Frost. So just relating to the peer educators, I feel like this is a good quote just because a peer educator is usually someone around the student's age. And obviously they're not a teacher, but they are allowed to awaken those that they are educating and just allow them to become more aware of things they shouldn't be partaking in, just so that they can have a better, healthy lifestyle. So moving on to some pre-research that I did. So I looked at programs that also had a peer education programs. So the first one was by Teen Empower. This was the SHAPE, which was a sexual health and peer education program. So their program also involved 30 high schoolers. The high schoolers were then trained and then taught lessons on social, peer pressure, and media messages. And they also peer educated seventh graders. So I found this program to be very related to ours, just because we also involved high schoolers and we would go to their schools and train them as well, going over the topics that they would then peer educate the seventh graders. So it was very relatable as we had the same group members participating. And then the next was peer-to-peer. So here they just gave us an overview of things on how we should run our program. So it informed us of characteristics for a good program, how to select the peer educators, how to match peers, and how to know if the program is working. Moving on to the insights, the first thing that I'll be discussing are the benefits of the peer education program. So it engages students through cooperative learning. Students are likely to be more open about personal stories. So just from personal experience, I know I would be more open with my peers than I would with the teacher, just out of fear of judgment maybe, or just maybe feeling more comfortable with your peers. Also, students are more likely to relate to someone close in age. It can also lead to higher academic achievement, and students have a higher attitude of being eager to learn. So here are a few qualities that are needed in peer educators. So the first one is open-minded. This allows for awareness of diversity among the peers. So it just allows everyone to feel more welcome. The second is good listener. And this allows for individuals to feel cared and wanted to help for. The third one is trustworthy. So this allows individuals to be open and honest with each other. And then the last is good communication. So this allows for information to be understood quickly and accurately so that the peer educators are able to interact and help out the students. So moving on to our program, just a little background information. Our program was led by Emily and I worked alongside her. So the first thing that we did was we chose high schoolers to be the peer educators, and this was done by interviewing and looking over applications of the students. We would then go to the high school and go over the topics which the peer educators would then have to go over with the seventh graders so that they are well aware of what they should be doing before going to the school. And then after they were aware, they would then go to the middle school to peer educate the students on the topics. And then the last 2 weeks, we had surveys based on the topic being taught for that week. And this was just done to ensure that the students were retaining the information they were being taught for that day, and also to answer any clarifying questions if they did have any. And then on the last day of the program, we had a final survey to evaluate the effectiveness of the program. So this just asks questions such as if they learned something from the peer education program, if they found it helpful, and what did they learn, if they did learn anything. The 4 topics that we had for our program were marijuana and vaping, alcohol, mental health, peer pressure, and digital footprint. So this is another quote I found interesting by Benjamin Franklin. It says, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." So I found this very interesting just because if you tell a student something, most likely it would go in one ear and go out the other one. If you teach them over and over, they will tend to remember it after a certain point. But if you involve them and are engaging them, it is more likely for them to retain the information they're being taught and just to remember it and like be able to apply it to their real life. So a few activities to follow with the quote that we involved in our program was we allowed the students to create a poster with a group based on the topic of the week. We also did silent ball. We had informational videos where they would then be able to ask questions based on the videos. And then we allowed them to create a skit with a group. So moving on to the conclusions. These are just some survey takeaways that we found from our last evaluation survey. So I just took out a few things that multiple students noted throughout the survey. So a few things that they found the most helpful was the TIP system and ways to deal with stress. So the TIP system is a de-stress tolerance skill. The T stands for temperature. So you change your body temperature by splashing a little bit of cold water on your face. The I stands for intense exercise. So you do this to match your intense emotion. The first P stands for paced breathing. So you would do the box method. So you would breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it, and then repeat it as much as you need it. And then the last P is paired muscle relaxation. So you focus on one muscle at a time and you will tighten your muscle and then release and relax. And you can also do that for as much as you need. The second thing was learning from high schoolers who have experienced similar situations that they are being taught. So it is just good to hear from like people close in age so that you know they have been through the same thing but have overcame it. The last one was learning of the various ways peer pressure occurs and how to handle them. And then a few things that the students noted that they learned was how to say no to bad influences. So it may seem easier than said to say no. So we taught them on various ways they can say no, such as involving an adult or a parent, whether it's a parent or teacher. Also having another friend who's just there to help them in saying no. The second was activities they shouldn't partake in and why, such as smoking, drinking, and sending explicit pictures. So we did this by telling them of the poor outcomes that they will experience if they do continue to partake in this. And then also that peer pressure can be used in a helpful aspect. So while peer pressure can often be seen as being something negative, it also can be something positive. Like for example, if you're playing a sport and your friends are peer pressuring you to practice more to get better, so that it can be better for game time, that's also a positive aspect of peer pressure. And then a few statistics. So our survey involved 102 seventh graders. So from that portion, 87% feel they can go to an adult if they or a friend were struggling with mental health. 82% feel they can educate their peers on what they learned after being peer educated by high schoolers. And 83% feel that peer education has helped them think about their future actions around using substances such as marijuana and alcohol. So just some future suggestions that I think can better enhance our program is to extend the program for a longer time frame. So while we only went to the schools for 4 weeks, I think maybe going throughout the whole school year or just half the school year will be better, just so that the students can be peer educated on various topics. The second is implementing the program in lower grades. So while we only focus on 7th grade this year, maybe moving it to 5th and 7th grade in the future will also be helpful. And then lastly, offering an after school option so parents can be involved. So I think this is important just because students do look up to their parents and they follow their steps. So I think educating the parents and making them aware of like all of these topics is important so that they can also help their student in making better choices for them and their health. Thank you. This is the end of my presentation. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at NHS Cares. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. You can also learn more about our organization at nhscares.org. Thank you for watching.